Hey guys, it's Aman
and Christina
from Our Rich Journey. Today we are talking about the best way to invest in your retirement account, the 401k in particular. And we're gonna be showing you how to do this by taking you into our 401k plan and showing you how we have invested our money.
So on the screen is our 2019 12-month return for our 401k. I had a 31% return and Aman also had a 31% return.
Now that is amazing. In 2019, our 401ks returned 31% each.
So in today's video, we're gonna talk to you about how we invest in our 401ks, and we're gonna give you some food for thought as to how you can invest in your own.
So when people ask us, how do I begin investing? One of the first questions we ask them is, do you have an employer-sponsored retirement account? Do you have a 401k? Do you have a 403b, a 457? And does your employer match the contributions?
Now, the 401k has been around since 1978, and it's named after Section 401 of the IRS tax code. It's a retirement account that you can only access if your employer offers it. And it's often called an employer-sponsored plan because your employer is responsible for running it. And so when I say your employer runs it, I mean that your employer decides who at the company can contribute to the 401k, how much the employer will contribute or match, what the investment options are within the 401k, the brokerage company that they'll hire to run the plan's investment options, and in certain circumstances, your employer also makes decisions as to whether you can borrow money or withdraw money from your 401k.
Now, it is important to understand that your employer has a lot of control over your 401k. Whether or not you have a good 401k or a bad 401k is really up to how your employer structures your 401k, because they are picking the brokerage company that is going to be providing investment options within the 401k. So if they pick an investment company or a brokerage company that has high fees, that doesn't have a very good selection of investment options, you could end up with a very bad 401k.
So when we say there are some bad 401ks, what we really mean is that there are a range of different 401k plans. Some are much better than others and some aren't the best. But just because they aren't the best doesn't mean that you can't invest in them.
Which brings us to our own 401k. Now, we were very fortunate because we worked for the federal government. Now, they have something called the TSP, the Thrift Savings Plan. The Thrift Savings Plan for federal employees is essentially a 401k.
Now we're gonna take you into our 401k and show you how we invest a little bit later in this video, but right now we wanna talk about why the 401k plan can be a great place to begin investing.
Now, the first reason, and this is the one that we talk about all the time, is the employer match. You see, when you contribute to your 401k, your employer also makes a deal with you that they will also contribute to your 401k. It's called a match. Now, employers won't match everything that you contribute, but they'll usually match up to a certain percent. In our 401k, our employer matched the first 5% that we contributed to the 401k.
Now we want to make clear that not all employers provide a match, but for those employers who do, you're basically getting guaranteed money. It's like getting 100% return on your investment. So at a minimum, you should always invest up to the match. The second reason why 401k investments are so great is because of the tax advantages. Now, the money you put into your 401k actually reduces your taxable income because the money that you're funding it with is pre-taxed money. And the money in your 401k grows tax-free, so the capital gains and dividends your 401k portfolio produces aren't taxed while the money remains in your 401k. Instead, the money is taxed at the income tax rate that you fall under when you take the money out.
This is amazing because your 401k balance is growing tax-free. Now, like Christina said, you will pay taxes on it when you withdraw it, but you have the ability to control how much you withdraw. Now, we're not going to get into the different tax hacks that you can do with a 401k. That's not the scope of this video. But know that when it comes time to take money out of your 401k, you can control the amount that you withdraw, and thereby you can control the amount of money that you're taxed on. The next benefit is that the 401k, in our opinion, is the ultimate long-term investing account. The money that you put in, you can be very aggressive with it. You can be 100% into the stock market because your money has decades to grow, 30, 40, even 50 years to grow in these accounts. So when we invest in our 401k, and we will get into that later on, we think that you can be super aggressive in these because you will not need this money for a very long time.
So when you have an aggressive investment, you have to understand that your investment portfolio can fluctuate. But one of the great things about the 401k is that your money is automatically taken from your paycheck and put into your investment. So regardless of the fluctuations, those automatic deductions each month result in dollar cost averaging, which is great for your investment portfolio.
And dollar cost averaging is a huge benefit when it comes to investing in your 401k because those deductions are being taken out of your check every single month and being invested into the stock market, which is something else that we love about 401k investing, is that it is automated. And automated investing over a very long period of time means that you're capturing the average return of the market. And we know that the average return of the market has always been positive. If you look at any chart of the stock market, it starts down here and it ends up there because it is continuously growing.
So now that we've talked about the different reasons as to why a 401k can be a great place to start your investments, now we want to actually talk about the different types of investments that you can make within your 401k. So your 401k is an account that you can use to buy investments. And within your 401k, you can typically invest in actively managed mutual funds, in index funds, and in target date funds. Now, these are the common types of investments, but there are also employer plans that allow you to invest in individual stocks and also in ETFs. So like we said earlier, your employer picks the brokerage company that manages the 401k plan for its employees. So your employer may pick Vanguard, for example. And if they pick Vanguard, that typically means that you're going to have very low fees and low expense ratios tied to your investments. Now, the reason why we mention this is because we want you to always be aware of fees. Fees can really tie down the growth of your investment account. So you want to be aware of the type of brokerage company that's managing your 401k and the fees that are associated with the different types of investments that you can make within your 401k.
Now, we talked about the various investments that you can make within your 401k, but for this video, we are going to focus on index funds because most 401k plans allow you to invest in low-cost index funds, and that's exactly what we did within our 401k. So when you look at a 401k, they typically have at least 4 index funds that you can invest in. The first one is typically a bond index fund. The second one is an S&P 500 index fund. Third is a small cap index fund. And fourth is usually an international index fund.
So these are the typical index funds that you can invest within your 401k, but you also have the option of investing in target date funds, which are typically a combination of these different index funds that you can invest in, and we'll talk about those later also.
So we had access to all 4 of these index funds within our 401k. So this brings us to how we chose to invest within our 401k. Which one of these index funds or which makeup of these index funds did we choose to grow our wealth in?
So let's first start off with bond index funds. Now, earlier in this video, we said we took an aggressive approach with our 401k, and because we were aggressive with our investment approach, we did not invest in bonds or bond index funds. Now, this is not typical for most people that invest in their 401k because a lot of people like to have that bond as some diversification and to protect against the volatility of the stock market. But for us, we understood that we were keeping our money in our 401k for the long term, and for the long term, we wanted to remain aggressive.
So since we didn't invest in the bond index fund, that left 3 other funds for us to invest in: the small cap index fund, the international index fund, or the S&P 500 index fund. Now you see, investing in your 401k can get as complicated as you want it to be. You can do an allocation between all 4 of those funds, you can do an allocation between the 3 of the funds, or you can do what we did. We did the simplest approach and just invested in the S&P 500. You see, typically we like to invest in a total stock market index fund. And so we could have recreated a total stock market index fund within our 401k, but since we are already investing in a total stock market fund outside of our 401k, in our brokerage account, and also in our Roth IRA account, we decided to keep our 401k very simple. And so we just invested in one fund.
So now this is how our investment can differ from a lot of people, because we are taking into account our separate traditional brokerage account when we're deciding how to invest in our 401k. Now, if you're just investing in a 401k and you don't have additional money to invest in other accounts, your investments may look entirely different than the type of investments that we have in our 401k plan. But the idea is to think holistically about your investment approach and what you're investing in, and make sure that your 401k investment aligns with your overall goal and that you are consistent with that type of investment.
So finally, let's talk about the target date funds, because I know this question is going to come up because the majority of people are actually automatically put into target date funds. You see, we did a whole video on target date funds, and we are not fans of target date funds because of the bond element within target date funds. Even the most aggressive target date funds still have you investing in bonds, and we do not want to have a bond allocation in our 401k. That's just our preference.
So again, because of our personal preference, we did not invest in target date funds. Now, if you want to learn more about target date funds and our opinions about them, the pros and cons associated with target date funds, we'll leave a link to the video that we did on that in the description below. So now that we talked about the way that we invest within our 401k plan, now we want to talk about how much you should be investing.
Now on the screen, we're going to show you how much we put in 2019. Keep in mind, 2019 was the year that we retired, and we retired in August of 2019. And so because we knew that we were going to retire early, we tried to put as much as possible into our 401k before we left our employer. I was able to put almost $18,000 into our 401k, and Christina was able to actually go over $18,000 into her 401k. But every year, our goal has always been to put as much as possible into our 401k. That was our financial goal year after year.
But we do understand that people have limited resources, and it's not always possible to max out your 401k or to max out your 401k and then also invest in other types of retirement accounts or traditional brokerage accounts. So if you have limited resources and you're interested in learning how to prioritize your investment accounts, we'll leave a link to a video that we did on that in the description below.
So go and take a look at that video on how to prioritize your investment accounts, but also take a look at videos where we talk about making more money to be able to invest. If you're in a situation where you're not able to max out your 401k because your income is going to other places, try to produce more income outside of your job so that you can take the money that you would normally be pulling outside of your paycheck to pay other bills. Instead, you can push that money into your 401k. You see, that is the hack. If you can grow your 401k balance to astronomical levels by maxing it out year after year, you will be so grateful when you hit 59 and a half.
Now at 59 and a half, that's the age where you can start pulling your money out. You're gonna have to pay taxes on it, but you'll be able to pull that money out of your 401k and you're not gonna be subject to a 10% penalty. Now there are certain exceptions though. So there are exceptions if you become totally disabled, if you have medical expenses, or if you have court-ordered child or spousal support. You can even borrow from your 401k.
Now we bring up these exceptions because when your money is in your 401k, it's not necessarily locked away forever. You can still access that money. In fact, there's something called a Roth conversion ladder where we talk about how you can access your money way before you even hit 59 and a half. But we only bring those up because it is not a locked safe when you put your money in your 401k. Although you should treat it like one, because if you leave that money in your 401k and allow that money to compound, you will be a multi-millionaire. That's what we wanted to stress with this video, that by investing in your 401k, you can use it as a tool to grow your wealth to significant amounts. And you can use that annual maximum contribution as a financial goal. Make that a goal in your life to always max out your 401k. I love the idea of that.
Now remember, investing in your 401k is an incredible way to grow your wealth and to prepare for retirement. So take some time, learn more about the specific type of plan that your employer offers and the different type of investments that you can make within your 401k plan. And remember, if you like this video, give us a thumbs up, subscribe to our channel, and join the journey.